everyone for joining for another week of In Rhythm Lightning Talks. If this is your first time, welcome. I think Beck said this is your first one, right?
No, this is my third time.
Third time.
Yeah.
You haven't even started with In Rhythm yet, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Excited to have you on the team. If you do not know who I am Jen Crawford, and I have the pleasure of co-hosting the space every Thursday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. In Rhythm Lightning Talks are a place for our practice area consultants to teach back to the In Rhythm community, as well as to our community on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. This week, I have the pleasure of co-hosting this space with the wonderful Matt Rhodes, our Director of Product. He is going through something fun, talking about improv in the workplace. So lots of fun conversations to be had. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us this week. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to him.
All right, completely my pleasure, Jen. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining. We've had a bunch of really cool, in-depth and technical lightning talks recently. So I thought I would do something completely different. Just kind of shake things up, give everybody a bit of a brain break. I do want to warn you that this is a participatory exercise. So, and I just realized I can't see you and present at the same time. So this is going to be even more fun. I'm gonna ask for volunteers every now and then to sort of join me, and we're gonna work through some fun.
I'll help with that, Matt. Don't worry.
Would you? Thank you. That'd be
Of
awesome.
course.
Okay, so this is titled Improv in the Workplace: The Value of Improvisational Acting Skills in Everyday Life. And improvisational acting, you may think you know what it is, but it's probably because of one thing. And okay, and there we go. It's probably because of one thing. This show. It's an amazing show. These people are amazing. It's a rolling cast of folks on there, but this has really raised up the awareness of improvisational acting. It's a show, in case you've not seen it, called Whose Line Is It Anyway? It is very funny. Typically, that's what it's about. It's an entertainment. It's a comedy show. And what these folks do is they will use a variety of different improvisational techniques to perform what's called in improv a scene. And a scene is really just, it's a little mini one-act play. Can be one act, can be a full 3-act play over many minutes. It just depends upon the format. But these guys go for short format. So if you are familiar with improvisational acting, it's probably because of this show. Unless you've taken theater courses, in which case a lot of standard theater groups will teach improvisational acting. And there's a reason for that. And we'll sort of talk about that a little bit later. But I'm sure right now you're going, well, this is kind of cool, or maybe not. But, what does this have to do with In Rhythm or my job or everyday life? Well, it actually has a whole bunch. And I'm speaking through experience. And it just went, okay, looks like the order got messed up. Hang on, I'm going to play with this. Fine. Okay. Well, we lost a slide somewhere, but that's tech. This slide originally said at the top, there was a duplicate of it that said what improv is. And improv is a acting exercise that teaches you to handle unscripted situation. It requires a minimum of 2 people. Otherwise, you're just sitting there talking to yourself. Doesn't mean you can't perform a one-man or one-woman improv scene. You just have 2 brains going at the same time, and you're arguing with yourself, which can be highly humorous, but it's very difficult. So usually a minimum of 2 participants. It's an unscripted interaction. There's no script. That's the purpose of the improv. It is entertaining or engaging, hopefully, if you do it right. Even if you do it wrong, it could be pretty entertaining, just not in the way you intended. And then it follows a structure and utilizes rules. So given that that's the description I had for this is what improv is, have you ever been in a situation with a minimum of 2 participants? Unscripted interaction. Might be entertaining or engaging, might be really boring, whatever, but there's rules and there's a structure. Has that ever happened to you? Of course it has, right? This is a Zoom call. It could be an in-person meeting, but any corporate meeting that you've ever been to. And I'm not sure if this is copyrighted, so I'm just going to move on so we don't look at the faces. But anyway, so improv is really a reflection of everyday life. We walk into a room with people we may or may not know. We have to interact with them. It's important to know how to do that, because if you want to grow your career, you want to be memorable in a good way. If you want to basically develop relationships, it really helps to be able to go ahead and be comfortable in unscripted environments, not looking at your notes. Okay, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about this. I need to talk to Nancy because she's important, and that sort of thing. It's much better to do it unscripted. So that's what improv is, and that's why it's important and can be very useful for this, for everyday life and for your job. I have been a student of improv, and I've been an instructor of improv acting for many, many years. And I honestly can really, really say it's come in super handy. So essentially what this lightning talk is, it's a sales pitch. I'm just going to tell you that right up front. It's a sales pitch for learning some improv skills, because they will help you. What improv is not, let's get to the slide that's been up on the screen for a while. It doesn't have to be funny. The whose line is it anyway method is funny, because that's the intention. We want to make the audience laugh. And those guys and gals are absolutely the best at that. But it doesn't have to be funny. In fact, I've been in some improvisational scenes that leave the audience in tears, and the actors sometimes in tears, because the way it works is there's many different ways to start an improv scene. And there's many different directions you may be given. All right, I want you two, picking 2 actors, come over here, and you've just learned of your father's death, and you are their best friend. Go. And they essentially write a script together in real time on the stage. So that can be a bit of a downer, but it can draw an emotion. And ultimately, improvisational acting is about eliciting an emotion in the audience, either humor, sadness, fear, whatever. So it doesn't have to be funny. We just associate improvisational acting with humor. Just like life. Yeah, sure, you want to be the funny guy, and you want to make people laugh, but also you might want to be able to, in a moment, when you're trying to develop a relationship with a coworker or with a client, to tap into an emotion that draws them in, and to take a hook that they give you, they give you a hint. I've got, I love my dog. My dog is just the greatest thing in the world. Okay, boom. That is something that you can relate to and improvise, essentially, a reaction to. You may not have a dog, but you may love dogs, and that's something you can talk about. If you own a dog, you can bond with that. But it's kind of a common conversational technique, right? But what is conversation? It is an improv scene. So it doesn't, as the third line here says, it does not require professional comedians or actors. Those are the ones that you're going to pay money to see. But you know, you'll see folks on the improv scene who are not professionals. They're just trying it out, and some of them are pretty dang funny because some folks are natural born comedians or natural born actors. So you don't have to be a professional to do this. Oh yeah, here we go. So what it is what we talked about earlier. Entertaining or engaging follows a structure, utilizes rules. There are many, many rules, many, many lessons to be learned if you take an improv class. It could be a little intimidating if you were to look at a full list, but that's not how you consume your lessons, or that's not how you should learn and research. If you want to just do some internet research on what is internet. There's a lot of different rules, a lot of different structures. We're not going to go into them now because that's not the point of this. This is sort of a just we're going to dip your toe into this and show you why it might be good for you to learn. Okay. How improv is helpful. Really, the first thing is you learn to be mentally flexible. And I put an asterisk next to this because honestly, this is the core. This is the one thing that everything else falls off of. We, as human beings, have ways. We've constructed these ways that we think, these patterns, these things that we do just by rote. And our brains lose their elasticity when we have routine after routine after routine after routine, and we stop seeing things that are outside of that routine. Improv teaches you to notice those things. So mental flexibility, we'll talk on this, each of these points in later slides. It makes you comfortable being without a script. You know, honestly, there's a lot of folks that will go to or be forced to go to a function, a company function, a wedding, a party by a best friend, and they're just not comfortable. You know, they may be introverted, which is part of it, but they may also have problems communicating naturally with people because they're not confident in what they're going to say, or they're so fear-filled of looking like an idiot that they clam down. First thing you learn going into an improv class, if you ever take one, is you're going to look like an idiot, and it's okay. We learn to cheer our failures, but also the scene may cause you to look like an idiot. You may start a scene, and one person is a mother-in-law, and the other person is an elderly grandmother, and both of the actors are male and young. Yet the scene calls for them to be these female roles, and probably extreme versions, because if you're going for humor, that's the best. So you get comfortable really quick with being confident in yourself. Improv trains you to how to handle unknowns, and in our careers and in our life, every day we are barraged with unknowns. So if you lock up when something happens that's out of left field, you're not sure how to deal with it, that can slow you down or stop you entirely in your tracks. So improv really helps. I mean, over and over, the games that we're going to be talking about here later are all about, hey, here's the thing, handle it. So very cool. Improv is helpful in teaching you to notice patterns of behavior. It also makes you a better listener. And again, mentally flexible, better listener, those two are sort of end caps. Those are really, really, really important skills. Because I don't care how smart you are, if all you do is talk, people won't listen to you. After a while, they'll tune you out. It's much better to be a very good listener and then base what you say on what you've heard and end up looking very wise. So we talk about looking ridiculous. Well, hey, there's lots of ridiculous improv games. If you were to go into Google and do a search on improv games, There's a stupid number of them. So I just selected 3 of them, and we're going to sort of do little mini versions of them. If I were teaching this and we were all in the same room together, I'd have everybody get in a circle, and then we would play these games. Because the purpose of any improv games is to teach you the things that you just saw on the previous screen. Listen, don't feel bad about being ridiculous. Focus on things. Get comfortable with unknowns. That's the purpose of all these games. So the first one we're going to do is a game of 5 things. Okay. So
maybe you should exit out so we could see everybody, Matt, while we do these games.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And everybody gets, let's see, where did everybody go?
Down on your bottom left.
Thank you.
Or bottom right.
Yeah, bottom right. And
or you could just stop sharing, and then you could always share back.
Stop sharing. Let's do that because Google, my Google Chrome is fighting me hard. Okay. So, hey guys, 5 things, very simple. The person hosting starts off by saying, I want you to tell me 5 things that, and they'll give us a scenario. The other person is going to go ahead and look in their eyes. It's very important not to look over here, because we're trained to not focus on our scene partner, because society doesn't like it when we look at each other in the face. So whoever volunteers for this, and hopefully I'll be able to scroll through and see them, we'll need to be looking in their camera, okay? So who wants to play 5 things, and I'll explain it more just by the example. And it's a fun little game, trust me, it's inoffensive. Any volunteers?
I mean, I'll play. Fabian wants to play too.
Okay, let's real quick. So I'm going to play with Jen and Fabian. Okay. All right. So Jen, I want you to give me 5 things in your automobile trunk.
Oh boy. Okay.
And all you do is start listing, and everybody needs to count along after she says everything. We give her a count, and we count them down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so go.
Car seat.
1. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
It has to be like things that are stationary, like
anything in the trunk of your car. That makes sense.
Trunk. No, the seat is not in the trunk of the car.
Hey, you may have a spare seat in the trunk. It's okay.
Okay, so trunk of the car, there's a towel.
Towel, 2.
Bathing suit.
3.
Crumbs.
4.
And gosh, what is in the trunk of our car? I don't know. Probably a golf club.
5. Boom. Okay. We're going to do one more round of that. Fabian, you get to play this one. And we're going to do the same thing. Then I'm going to explain why we just did that. Okay. All right. So remember, rook I. And everybody count, if you're on mute, that's fine. Everybody just do a count with your fingers. Okay. This is a group exercise. Okay. Here we go. Fabian, I want to know 5 things in a serial killer's basement.
Chainsaw.
1.
Hammer.
2.
Nails.
3.
Some kind of tape.
4.
And scissors.
5.
You came up with that list very quickly.
He sounds like Dexter.
You find out a lot about your fellow performer playing these games, and sometimes it's a little uncomfortable.
That list was produced very fast.
So what did we just do apart from have a good time? And I hope everybody sort of enjoyed that. And that's why I love improv classes, because there's a lot of games and so much laughter, but you're also training your brain. I just gave you a random thing and you had to respond appropriately, right? You did not know what I was going to give you. All you knew was you have to list off 5 things. You could have gone, everybody could go straight to the just the standard basic stuff, or if you want, you can go elaborate. You can go very detailed instead of crumbs. I've got moldy crumbs in the trunk of my car, moldy crumbs from a 2-year-old Twinkie. Okay. And that's the next level of the game is, okay, you need details, not just the 5 things, but you need detailed 5 things. The whole idea here is to train your brain, again, to think about, to be prepared to be responsive to whatever situation you're given, to go ahead and analyze what the heck is in, if I might give somebody something that they have no clue, I need what's in an architect studio. Well, I don't know. I've never been in an architect studio. It's okay. You make it up, right? Improvise. So that's that game. 5 things. Anybody can play this game. You guys, if you're sitting around and if you happen to be on site and you're in the same cafeteria, you want to have a few laughs, play a few rounds of 5 things. Like I said, you're going to find a lot of things out about your fellow employees you may or may not want to know. But
Fabian, you're on my watch. I'm watching you.
This one's recorded, right? Oh.
Okay. All right. Thank you to brave folks, and we're gonna want some other different folks next time. So, all right. Let me see if we can get this to present. There we are. Okay. Where were we? So yes,
We're at the games.
we're at the games. Everybody can see this okay, by the way?
Your screen, no, we
No.
cannot see.
Oh, it's not sharing. Okay, I said share. I'm so sorry.
Improv.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me zoom and hit share and try that again. Oh yeah, there we go. That's why it asked me what to share and I bleed by it.
How dare they?
Yeah. Select it and share. Okay, so moving on. Now we're going to present, and yeah, I see the share screen. Perfect. Okay,
It is blank on our side.
it's blank on your side.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Do you want me to do it?
Would you mind? Since my Chromebook is giving me heck.
Yep, I can share.
Okay. I'm going to hit stop share. Sorry, folks. There's always technical issues. One of the things, while Jen's doing that, one of the things on that screen was there's a reference to Sir Winston. And I love Sir Winston Churchill because, everybody thinks he was a dry old politician. Oh, no, he was an improvisational master. So as an example of the sort of things that improv acting can train you to do, to be witty, is situations like this. Lady Astor, a acerbic elderly woman with very set opinions, walked up to Sir Winston, who was having a great time drinking his cognac and enjoying himself. And she said disapprovingly, Winston, Winston, were I your wife, I would feed you poison. Winston, without batting an eye, looked at her and said, my lady, were I your husband, I would drink it. So, and everybody, of course, laughed, and Lady Astor slunk off. So, okay, I'm not seeing the screen. Are you showing it?
Sorry about that. Did I just totally derail?
No, it's just we're not seeing. Bingo,
Oh, there it is.
Perfect. Okay.
Sorry.
No.
It's
okay.
intentional, Matt. It's intended to keep you on your toes, so you have to improv your
See,
own presentation.
Do I look flustered? No, because it's all fun. And I know I'll get to give Jen grief later. Okay.
If you call me, I'm going to ignore. This is essentially.
We've got some other games, but we are running a little bit late. How much time do I have, Jen? Actually,
the
how
world
much
is
time?
your oyster, however long you want to take.
All right, when I start seeing faces disappear from the screen, I know I've gone too long. Okay, so we got two more games to go. I may skip Whoosh Bong, and we'll just play Yes and later. But those are set for some other slides. So let's skip to the next one if we would, Jen. Okay, so the first thing in that list it'll teach you is no script, increase confidence. Improv scenes don't have a script. That's the purpose of them. It's just like life. They do actually have a format. So there's many different details to this, but essentially there's a beginning or an intro where two participants walk on stage and they introduce themselves or their characters and the scene. So it's 3 W's. Who are we? Where are we? And what are we doing? And they don't have to say, "Oh, I'm Sir John Dudley we're in my home in Lancashire." That's silly. They walk in and the other character goes, Sir John Dudley's I Live and Breathe. Okay, that character has just been introduced by the other one. So we know who that one is, and they go through and they do this scene. So there's the introductory part, and that's the first few minutes. There's the middle. This is where it gets fun or good or intense. This is where you amp the energy up. You could do that with humor. You can do that with conflict. You can do that with conflict and humor. Now, conflict, when you say conflict, that doesn't mean one person insulting another and all that. It means one character is stopping another from accomplishing their goal in that scene. There's a resolution. The resolution is very important because if it's not carried out, the other two parts really don't matter. The resolution is where the audience gets what they want. If you have somebody who is pretending or whose character is a white knight, and you have the other character being the damsel in distress, and maybe a third character who is the black knight who's threatening, okay? All archetypal characters. What does the audience want to see? Well, they don't want to see the bad guy win and drag the damsel off. The audience wants to see their heroes win, and the hero may or may not be the white knight. It may actually be the damsel. So a fun scene would be the white knight going up against the black knight, and the black knight defeats the white knight, and the audience is going, "Whoa, this just went someplace I didn't expect." And then the damsel comes along, knees the black knight in an inappropriate place, and takes the sword and wins the fight, and thus the scene and the audience cheers. So there's a structure in that. There's cool and interesting things happen. It's totally unscripted. Nobody knows where it's going to go, but there's a structure that the actors know. It's the same thing if you are dealing with a scene, i.e., a meeting, a friendly get together in a pub. There's certain things that people expect. They want a resolution. So if you go into a business meeting and you say, "We are going to figure out this problem," and you leave that meeting without figuring out that problem, your audience is very disappointed and unsatisfied. So remember, a meeting is an improv scene. Go in, introduce yourselves, what's going on, who's doing what, hash it out, go through the conflict. And then, most importantly, you have to start resolving the conflict. You can't just let that conflict go on because the scene never ends. The audience gets bored, right? So go ahead and you have to wrap it up. You have to resolve it in some fashion. I've mentioned this before, so I'm just going to briefly cover it. Sometimes you're given a starting concept for a scene. Sometimes you just walk in and there's no narrator, there's nobody there to say, "I want you to do this and I want you to do that." There's just two actors walk on, and neither one knows what's going on, but one of them makes a statement. This, the other one goes, "Yes," and this. And together they build this scene. The audience is completely flummoxed because if these performers are good, it looks like this was all scripted. but it never is. Is this scary? Absolutely. Okay, life is scary. We deal with scary situations all the time, right? So one of the things that performers do to help get through scary situations is we cheer our failures, which is why we do a lot of workshops, a lot of training. So the first few times if you ever take an improv class, the first few times, or you watch an improv class, the first few times, people are going to fall flat on their faces, and you are going to see their fellow actors cheering, good try, good attempt. And then they'll get some positive feedback. Okay, that was going great until this, that sort of thing. Why can't we do that ourselves in non-theatrical situations? If somebody is doing a presentation, if somebody is working through a problem in front of a group and they fall flat on their face, your improvisational acting PowerPoint goes south. What do? We cheer, right? Hey, good try. We understand stuff happens. If everybody had that attitude, I think business would be a lot better and a lot less stressful. Okay, let's scooch on over to the next one there, Jen. How to handle unknowns. Okay, well, in improv, the unknown is what the heck are we going to be performing here, right? Begin talking, it's all gold. The type of improvisational acting I have done a lot of is where we have guests walking up in a park, essentially a theme park. And I don't know anything about this stranger who just walked in, but I am playing a character. I walk up and I pick a color on them, or I pick something that stands out. I pick a tree, a branch that just fell at their feet. I pick something, it doesn't matter what it is, and I start talking about it. It's probably boring. You know, I see you are wearing a red and gold shirt. Okay, that's boring, but it's got me talking. Now, this is where your improvisational skills start to kick in. You're wearing a red and gold. Therefore, you must be a king. Only kings wear red and gold. And the guest will either do one of several things. One, they will like blush and stutter and give you nothing, in which case you can use that as your next hook. All right, that's the next thing to talk about. Let them recover, or just embarrass them further, either way. But you're constantly picking up on the new information that you are given. If you are working with a scene partner who's another performer, or a co-worker with whom you are giving a co-presentation, you bounce off of them. Whatever detail they give you, you riff on, and then you go off on your own. So if Fabian and I are working together doing a presentation, which gosh darn, we just actually did, it's that he will discuss something, I will pick up on that and discuss that and elaborate, and then segue into another point. And if you do that, you're not standing up there going, and this is the way that we are going to do this widget, and this widget is, okay? You're not doing that thing where everybody falls asleep after 30 seconds. So if you have a scene partner, work with them, hand it off back and forth. It's two different voices, two different styles of presentation. Pick topics based on your senses. I talked about that. What you just saw, heard, smell, whoa, that skunk just, okay. Work with your partner. It's not a competition. This is really big. I don't know if any of you have ever known or worked with actual actors or performers. We tend to have egos, and we tend to make lots of things a competition. The problem is if you do that with an improvisational scene, or in life, or at work, then it becomes ugly and unpleasant for everybody. How do you become ugly and unpleasant? Well, you say no. Okay, no, that's not the case. If you're a performer on stage and your partner says, you are the madman of Alcatraz. No, I'm not. I'm just a tourist. Okay, now he has to work twice as hard to justify why he called me the madman of Alcatraz, right? And the audience can see that struggle and they see I just denied that reality that was being set up. So don't do this on stage. Don't do this to your scene partner, your coworkers. Don't say, no, you're wrong. Say, that's an interesting perspective. I think, it would be good if we looked at another one. Okay. Improv will teach you ways to come up with ways to handle no, but also it will train you not to say no. You want to set your scene partner or your coworker up for success by providing what they need to make it work. So, Jen, you just saved my butt, right? I'm going to, hey, Matt, you're having problems with PowerPoint. I'm going to display. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Together we win. And acknowledge, own, cheer your failures, embrace your sense of play. Again, it's okay to look ridiculous. It really is. I'm going backwards here because I don't follow patterns. Embrace your sense of play. If you're having fun, then everybody else will have fun as well. Okay. So it's really hard when you're nervous and you're going to do a big presentation and there's important people in there. If you go in, you go, hello, everybody. This is I'm very glad to see you. Okay, they see the body language, they see the face, they see they hear the tone of voice, they know you're terrified. All of a sudden now everybody's a little concerned. Hey, is Matt going to be able to get through this? But if you go out there and you have taught yourself how to have fun with uncertainty, it becomes a lot less easy. All right. I'm going to pause for a moment because I've been doing a lot of talking. Any questions on any of the things that I've brought up until now? And I'm going to try and talk a little more fast to get through the rest. So I don't want to keep you guys too late. We good to go? Okay, cool.
It's awesome. I'm having fun.
Okay, thank you. I hope so. I'm having fun. So, yeah, we did that one. Notice pattern. Okay, yeah. So one of the better listeners. Actually, let's go to notice patterns first. I want to leave better listeners for last. Thank you. Okay. Improv, again, improv is sort of derived from comedy, and thank you. Great, I'm glad you're enjoying that, Angelica. I try to make this very just me talking. So patterns, we are humans. I mentioned this before, we love patterns. If we don't have a pattern, we create patterns. If you look at an ink, Rorschach ink test, you will see things in that random blob of ink because that's the way our brains work. We love patterns. Comedy uses this very, very well. The archetypal example, you see a man, he walks on the stage. There's a banana peel on the stage. He slips and falls on the banana peel. Another guy walks on stage, sees the banana peel. He slips and falls on the banana peel. We've set the pattern. Third guy walks on stage, looks at the banana peel, picks it up, starts to walk off stage and then slips off, okay? Nothing. We broke the pattern, but we're still funny. We gave the audience what they expected. They expected a pratfall. We gave it to them, just in a different manner. So you can use patterns. Patterns bring comfort, so you got to be careful when you break them, but they can also breed complacence. But both with comedy and performance, if you're doing the umpteenth version of a white knight saving a damsel in distress and being, thwarted by the evil guy. Okay, it's an archetype, but it's one that's really, really familiar. So if you're going to do it, if you're going to play that, if you're going to bring that scene out on an improv stage or even on an actual stage with a theatrical production, you better do something special, something that breaks the really boring pattern. So, it has to be different. You can't be complacent because then the audience gets bored. So you need to know when to ignore patterns and break it. So that was that example I gave earlier of the pratfall. That was a way of breaking the pattern. We set a pattern, then we broke it, but we broke it for a reason, to be funny. It's the same thing if you're trying to handle a problem that you've handled before in a work environment. You're dealing with the same thing and you're seeing everybody responding in the same way. This is something business analysts and product analysts learn. Why? Why are we doing this that way? Why are you following this pattern? Well, this is the way we've always done it. Okay, but why? Well, it's the best way. Well, why is it the best way? And essentially, you channel your inner 2-year-old and you drive everybody insane until you get them to answer the fact that there either is a very good reason for why that's the way to follow this pattern, or no, this is a silly thing. There's no point to it. We need to change it. So that's the pattern aspect of improvisational acting. All right, on to the next. Better listener. Okay. If you get 2 actors up on the stage, and it doesn't have to be improv actors, it can be regular actors as well, with lines. If you don't listen to your scene partner, you're going to fail. You're going to, if you're an improv performer and you go, I'm going to storm the castle, and your scene partner goes, well, I'm going to rail against the storm as well. The audience goes, huh? Because the second guy wasn't listening, was he? All he heard was storm. So he latched onto that and started to riff on it. The scene is not going well. So the only way you can recover from the second person not listening to the first person, is for the first person to reference that and say, are you deaf? I said, storm the castle. And now the scene's going, off in a completely different way. And that's fine, it's improv. If that was a stage performance and the second character missed the cue and responded with a line that was 3 lines after it was supposed to be, because they weren't listening, then things get really awkward. Whereupon, this is why they teach theatrical performers, classic theatrical performers, improv, then the first guy has to use his improv skills to sort of get us back on track and back on script. Same thing in real life. Listen, please, for the love of God, listen to what is going on in the meetings. Yes, we are all multitasking. It's very easy, especially in the world of Zoom. It's very easy to think you're listening and be multitasking on something else, and then somebody says, isn't that right, Matt? And you go, yes, right.
I just thought you froze.
Oh no, that was. Thank you. I'm a really good actor. So you don't want to be that person, and also you don't want to respond inappropriately. Yes, that's absolutely right. If you'd listened, the correct response would have been no, absolutely no. So it's the same thing in just casual conversations. If you're talking to somebody, actually listen to them and talk and focus. If you fail to listen, you fail to understand, and ultimately you can fail. Okay. There's some other points in there, and it's been up on the screen. You've probably read them, so let's move on. So, how do I learn improv, Jedi Master Man? Well, use the Force. No, Padawan, you need to do one of the following. You can do the quick ones, which you can immediately after you hang up from this call, you can do right immediately and say, hey, Matt's got me so psyched up. I want to search Improv Games on the internet and find some, and I've got a bunch of folks I like to hang out with, so let's play those. Yes, please do. It's fun. If nothing else, if you're tired of the same party games, Improv Games will shake things up really well. Like I said, it's a great way to do icebreakers if you have new employees. So Jen, if we're hosting something, I recommend throwing a couple of improv games and let everybody make fools of themselves. And it's great. There's a really good book. I mean, there's so many good books, but this is sort of a standard. It's called the Improv Handbook, easy to remember. There's 2 things with your local improv or theater group. I'm given to understand that New York may or may not have 1 or 2 improv groups. I don't know. So if you find one, chances are they make a lot of their support money by either opening up their workshops to people, to the public, and maybe charging a small fee, or actually giving courses. Either of these are great. And this is really the best way. So they usually break them down into, introductory, middle of the road, difficulty, and then expert. And you just sort of go up in those classes. And I don't know what they charge, but I can tell you, if it's a decent troupe and you get some good people joining up with you, that is the best money you're going to spend, both for entertainment value and for life skills. So I have scratched just the lightest little scratch in the surface here for improvisational acting, but I hope this gives you a clue as to what it is, how it can help what you do every day, and maybe give you another entertainment source as well. So with that, Padawans, I will open up with questions.